everything that so Lori, do you remember asking what that like checkbox for private meant? Yeah, that was the problem.
I think that was Lois. Yeah.
Yep. So that was the whole issue. Um, we needed to uncheck that because when it's private, it keeps that info separate from the rest of the program. And there we go. Hi, Nicole.
Hello. Thanks.
How are
Sorry,
you?
my computer took a second to get up and running, but I'm glad I was able to get in.
Yeah, I'm glad you could join us. How you doing?
Good.
Okay. We'll do intros real quick. I'm Matt. We're gonna figure out how we're gonna make this app together. Lori, why don't you go next?
Sure. I am Lori Ryan. I am just here to ride along and see how this all works and comes together and just watch Matt do a fabulous job with show and tell.
Lori, what do you do?
What do I do? Well, let's see. I'll try to keep it brief, but I worked as a TV news producer for like 20 years, worked in retail operations for 10, and then I just was an IT project manager for 10. And then within the last year, I decided that businesses and the world is going to need help understanding all this stuff that's happening with AI. So how could I try and bridge that gap?
Very cool. Cool. Awesome.
Work in progress. How about you?
So I'm Nicole Peters, and I am an occupational therapist by trade, but my master's degree is in assistive technology. So that's why I hopped in whenever you put it on Twitter. I was like, well, that's right up my alley. So I do assistive technology for a suburban school district outside of Kansas City. I'm full-time AT doing that with all of our sped kids. So
Where did you do occupational therapy? Two of my best friends worked in occupational therapy.
oh yeah, I went to the University of Kansas, and I've just stayed in this Kansas City area. So I'm like suburban Kansas City on the Kansas side.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, my friends are in Minnesota, and one of them ran like Park Nicollet, and she just retired.
Ah,
I think
well,
COVID was enough.
It's kind of rare. Sometimes people have no idea what OTs do or who they are. So
they're very passionate about it. So
yeah, good.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Matt, we can't hear you.
There you go. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you joined in, Nicole, because yeah, when I put it on Twitter and LinkedIn, I didn't really know who was going to sign up, and I was like, I'm hoping a couple of like education people are going to sign up here, and so yeah, kind of like in the AT world. Okay, so I didn't share. Lori and I were just talking about when we were working on it on Thursday. We were working on the code part, and I'll just kind of share my screen to kind of show what happened. We found that it was generating stories, but not at all stories related to what we were doing. It was just like making up random stories because it wasn't connecting stuff. And so this is kind of what we had. We have like a bunch of drop down menus. This is like what we have right now. I'll reload this page here. This one I think should work now. And so the idea is that you pick a theme, and then like we want it to be funny, and then who is it going to be? And I had Chat GPT kind of come up with like the different like who's it could be for the different things, and we'll kind of like add more, but that turned out to be a really helpful way of instead of trying to think about it. So it's gonna be a pirate that solves a mystery in the mountains, and then we say generate story. And this should be fixed on this version 1. Here we go. Yeah, mischievous pirate sailed his ship deep into a treacherous mountain range, determined to solve the mysterious riddle that would unlock the magical fairy tale treasures. And he was sure it would be much easier than walking the plank. That's pretty funny. All right, I like that. So that's what we've got right now. And what I've been thinking is like in like my vision was that it would have kind of buttons just like a speech device has, like an AAC device has, would be an interface similar to that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my goal today, was to work on that. But I'm going to explain a problem that we ran into for it. But first I want to explain, I haven't released the video yet because I want to edit it, because like half of our call was then realizing that we had missed a very critical point, and Lori or Lois had discovered or had asked me the question of, what does this one thing do? And so this is, so the program that I'm using is called Bubble, and allows you to kind of create like the program that we did without having to type code. And so like we drag in these different elements, and then you kind of connect them with these workflows. When somebody clicks that generate story button, it's going to run this chunk, and then it will run this chunk of code, and you kind of like keep connecting it with different things. But like, so with this, no, I'm not gonna bother with that right now. But so the problem that we ran into, Lori, was, yeah, down here. And this is definitely the most technical of all the things we had to do. I watched a YouTube video. I watched a couple of YouTube videos to figure out how to do this. And I missed a very important key thing to it, was that you have to uncheck private, which I don't know where that's checked. It gave us the right story, so I don't really know. But you have to uncheck it, because if it's checked, then what happens is that it keeps these values private to the rest of the program, and it just keeps them within this plugin. And what this is doing, Nicole, is I didn't write this code. I kind of just copied it from OpenAI. So OpenAI is the name of the company that runs ChatGPT, that has GPT, and it's loading up right now. But OpenAI can then kind of connect their AI system and kind of different things. Like, I literally, right, and
You're breaking up for me, Matt. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, for me too. Yeah.
all right, here. Ooh. I'll just go with the speaker. Does this helping? Hold on here.
It is helping.
Okay, what about now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. All right. Those headphones, I'm telling you. Right. And so yeah, so the idea is that we can kind of just write our prompts to the AI and test it out here. And once we get it to be how we want it to be, then we can kind of copy, like they have like a little like code output thing, and we'll put it over into, oh, there's this one here. And we'll put it into here, and then we kind of connect things up. And so that was a big problem. So we kind of kept going, and we ran into a bunch of problems.
Actually, Lois, who joined us, is connected to Matt, and so she introduced me to Matt, and I'm just thrilled to be here and watching all of this unfold. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, no, I just saw his Twitter thing, and then I was like, hey, I'm in. Sure, why not?
I love that.
Okay, all right, I'm back. So yeah.
You are back. We were worried.
All right. Hey, Lois. Okay, all right. So I'm going to share my screen again here. Okay, yeah. So that was kind of like the summary. So we kind of went through and we did that. What I want to do is to then kind of create an interface of where it's going to look like the AAC device, and we have these like nice picture buttons as we kind of go along. But what I've been discovering is that, well, I already knew that Bubble, this program that we're using for making the app, is not very accessibility friendly, and I want it to at least you should be able to navigate it by tabbing through the interface. And right now, if I hit tab, it will select some things, but like like the actual, like, this thing doesn't work. This is a like an HTML button. That one's not working. I'm going to reload it again.
Yeah, and it's and what it probably doesn't read those whenever does it read will it read them out loud if you tab through them or
I don't have it set up on mine right now.
mm-hmm.
No. But yeah, the problem I'm having is that like it did highlight, or it did have the cursor over, like, so these form inputs, it will work. Um, and so like here is really hard to see, but like it is, this is the active button, but I can't get it to this be the active button. This is another way that I tried messing around with it. And so if I kind of go through, I've not been able to find a way in which the button itself will also have the image on it. We can do things like this, where we've got an image
Oh,
and the text and then a drop down. But
hmm.
even then it's like, right, like, I want to have images to go along with these different moods. Um, and so I've not been able to figure out a way to do that yet. And I've been trying to, because it's if we were coding it, then this wouldn't be an issue. But trying to get it to work in a way that Bubble lets us do this, because it's meant to, like, we don't need to use code, and we can get things to look the way that we want to. Like right now, like this can be like a link and a button, and so can this. And this whole thing is like, I click on adventure, here's the adventure story. I click on mystery, we don't have that yet. But like that's good to go. But it's not a something that you can't do keyboard access at all to that system. And if we do a
Right.
button like this, I can't put images inside of the button.
Hmm.
And same thing if I do like a link, I can't put images that are part of that same link. It would have to be like two separate links. And so it'd be, you'd be doing extra tabs. And if you're using a screen reader too, then like that would just be a mess. And
Right.
one of the other challenges I've been running into also is I thought it'd be easy to put text to speech really easily into here. And it's not. I have not found an easy. I thought it was going to be like, I was like, sweet, like Chrome already has a lot of this built into it. Like I should be able to access that really simple. And I can't figure that out. So those are two huge issues of how we're going to get this thing to work. And I don't know yet, but I did kind of, and so in terms of building the interface, I'm not quite sure yet how we're going to do that. And I'm going to have to try and find some people with a lot more experience in Bubble on how we would do that. But so I was thinking for tonight, and I want to end probably like at 6:30 tonight. I was kind of thinking either we would work on trying to figure out how we could write a prompt for AI so that we could do non-fictional stories, like what I did over the weekend or something like that. Or we work on kind of like how we would like the interface to look, and we could kind of do that in the Figma, an online design program. So are people kind of feeling one way or the other what they feel like doing today?
I don't know, in terms of like design, what you're talking about. So you're saying there would be maybe using a separate one to do some design with the Bubble. I'm not. I've tried doing coding stuff. It's just not in my brain very well. So I'm not a little basic ones, but not much. But like with the accessibility thing, I was just thinking too, like if those things did like more like depending on I don't remember what AAC device your daughter had, but like if it did like a pop up, a pop up page,
Mm-hmm.
and then if it's you could scroll through those instead of having those pull downs, that would tend to make it maybe more accessible for a lot of people if it had, if you didn't have to scroll down to get to the options and stuff, if it popped up a page for the like who popped up a page of who and you chose and then it goes away, pop up a page for but
Right. Oh, I like that. And then it kind of goes back. So we'd have like separate boards that would kind of pop up. Like, yeah, I
yeah.
love that.
I
Uh,
think that in my mind that works a little bit more like an AC device and it kind of would guide through a little bit more for accessibility, especially if you were trying to make it like scan or anything like that too. Being able to do some kind of scanning options to make it more accessible for people or a wider range of people, I guess.
yeah, that was a really good point. Could you explain real quick what how a scanner works?
Yeah. So, um, and it kind of depends on what type of scanning you do because there's a lot of different types of scanning. But basic in my mind for whenever I have kids with AC devices that scan, if they don't do direct select, like touching the buttons to be able to access, then they might be doing scanning. So they might have a little switch, and then um, it and it depends on what you're doing, but a basic scan is that they could hit that switch and it could move through. And then you might have and that's like your mover button. And then you might have another switch to access when you get to the one you want, and that's your selector. So move, move, move through your choices. So if you had a little pop up board like on your AC device, you're moving through the choices. And usually, a lot of times, like you have an auditory component, like you had mentioned, like if it would say it out loud, and then you would select with the other one. um, but scanning will also do auto scans, like it'll just scan at a pace for you. And then you might have a switch that when it gets to scanning, 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 it gets to the one you want, and then you hit the switch whenever gets to the one you want, which can be kind of harder because if you don't have a great body and your motor doesn't work super great for you, the timing is kind of an issue.
And it
So
and I'm trying to remember too of like, so it would be of like, right, it's like you could have it of where maybe it goes by line, so it'd be like highlights this line
yep,
and this
yep,
one, and then you hit a button and then it stops on that line, and then now it'll start going left to right,
going
like
across.
this one,
Yep,
this one, and then you hit a button when it comes to that one, and then it would select then of
yep.
like it, and then it would restart again from the top, and then
Mhm.
can I continue going then down as we kind of go along.
Yep, and you can depending on the device and what you're using, you can set those all up in different ways. You can do chunks like it might do, the corner 8 or something, and then the
Okay.
next 8, and so it depends on how you set the scanning up. You can do linear, you can do there's a whole bunch of different ways. Technology has really made some nice improvements for people who have to do scanning stuff. So
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well, in that case, all right. Well, yeah, should we do some design? Should we just kind of like mock up a
yeah,
design idea here? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna be using Figma, and I'm trying to remember how I even originally started this. Oh no, that's right. I want to do um okay. All right. So Figma, it's kind of it's an online cloud-based graphics program that's become really popular for making um like a lot of like app design and web design stuff, and you can do some really cool stuff with it. um and it's free, so like
there
it's
you
not
go.
Photoshop. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking, I'm trying to remember too, I looked this up and I forgot what it was, what the actual sizes were. We're going to go with a certain grid size here, and um, okay. And so we would have that and then our text. And so then we could have then our different like adventure story. And then we'll have our image up there.
Mhm.
And let's see here. I'm just gonna okay, so I'm gonna select this. And we're gonna group that selection. We're just gonna then copy
Copy.
that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just do a couple because then okay. So then if this is like the home screen.
Mhm.
And then when somebody selects then say like adventure, now that's going to take us to
A new page.
yeah. All right, and then this would be our adventure one.
Mhm.
And so I guess we'd want to have get some icons. Where did I put those? Okay, we're just going to use this castle one for adventure right now. Okay. All right, because I'm kind of thinking then of like when whatever screen we're on, Then, so if you tap adventure, then we're gonna have then our other options over here. I'm thinking, I don't know, Nicole, should it say like adventure like up there, or is it like clear enough to the users of like, I tapped on adventure, I'm on the adventure page now?
It's a good question. I would tend to say for navigation's sake, usually you continue and state where you're at. So I would still put adventure up there, like what you're doing.
Okay,
So then for navigation's sake, people know where they're at.
okay, all right. I've been learning a lot about AAC devices, yeah, like these last 2 years. And there's still a lot of things where it's like, I don't get how they did that or why they put it that way, or like, I just like,
Oh, and they're all different.
and that's what I've learned too. Yeah, as I've been trying to figure it out, people are still like, oh yeah, and then like other ones do it this other way, and it's like, so
Oh yeah, it's
okay.
crazy.
Well, and then I suppose, and then we should have a back button too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think that would be good.
no, maybe we'll put back down at the bottom.
Yeah, back or home. I don't know. Some if you want to,
All home.
yeah, home might be because a lot of times that's what AAC devices will use too is home. But I guess it depends on what you're doing, where you're going. But if you're going back and forth, and if you want them to be the same every time, because would this go back to the main page? We'd pick something here, and then we'd go back to the main page, or
Yeah,
no?
that's not what I'm thinking. Well, no, because I mean, I guess because then when we're on one, then it's gonna be right, then it's gonna be the mood, and
Yeah.
then we've got like the who, what.
So what I'm hearing is you may need them just to be able to go back a question or to a different question, or you may need them to go back to the very beginning.
Right.
And so I almost, what it reminds me of is a lot of times when you're on any type of web page, and if I'm speaking out of turn, let me know. There's like some kind of logo or something that you click on in the upper left-hand corner that's kind of like your home.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking even on the speech devices, there's a back button and a home button.
Mhm.
And that can get confusing because you're not even quite sure where you are.
But if you keep your back on the bottom and your home in the upper left-hand corner,
Yeah.
home will
Yeah.
get you back to the very beginning every time, and back will get you back where I was right before this.
Yeah, I think you're right. As long as we stay consistent in placement, then I think that would be fine.
Okay. Okay. So we'll have back, and we'll make those like buttons with like a image or something like that, or some distinguishing thing. I think on Roy's iPad, it's just like the home button has the home icon, but then back is like always a blue button. Okay, so I was kind of, so we tap
Ken,
on
back, does Rory understand an arrow going to the left is back, or what does she understand an arrow to be?
yeah, it would be going back. Yeah.
And maybe if she's used to blue buttons, maybe it's a blue button with a white arrow going to the left. I'm just
Yeah.
Yeah. I think as long as it's consistent and, on every page, like the icons and the name is consistent, I think.
And when you click mood, do you go to a brand new page then?
So that's kind of what I'm thinking is that then when you tap on mood, then we're going to be taken to a new page. And now we have the different mood. I don't know. This is getting very technical here. It was so much easier in my mind. Okay, right? So then we got funny, sad, scary, romantic.
But so here's what I wonder too, like, are those always going to be the same? Like, are we always going to have, like, under the other topics besides adventure, are they always, those second 2 pages always kind of the same?
Um, for mood, they might be, but then some of the other ones like the who and the what and the where, it would probably make more sense to have different types of things, you know, because we don't want to have a list of like 50. And so maybe like what would be like the most common or popular, like locations or who the people are going to be, like, right, like because one of the ones was like fairy tales, like, right, so then we'll have like common fairy tale characters, but those will only show up in the fairy tale story.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, and so then we would go through and we'd select it. So this is where I had kind of, I've been thinking about this, and I'm glad that you're here, Nicole, because this is one of the things I was kind of getting stuck on, is because, again, on the speech device, up at the top, as you're building out your sentence, you've got that, you know, being said. Oh, I guess it doesn't show up on there. You know, it has it
Yeah,
up on the top, and now I'm not
as you go and you
Got
get
it.
to see what you're saying and what you're putting together. Yeah.
Right, and so it have that sentence.
Which would be great when you're writing. That's what you're doing. You're putting little, you keep adding on. And so if people can see, oh, I picked that and I picked that. And so you're trying to figure out, like, how would you establish that bar that would give you, like, once you pick one, it would go into it and then stay. And then you go to the next section.
Yeah. Different idea. What if, okay, as I'm looking at this here, like, right, so the bar up here, like, it almost seemed like it was gonna be kind of, as I was picturing that in my mind, of like, we have a bar going across, but if all of our stories are kind of formulaic, where they're all gonna have like different, the same types of inputs, what if we just had up here at the bar, we have the, like, the type of story, and then we have the mood, and then the, no, well, I don't know, and then the who and the what and the where going across the top, as in, so that way that's our visual indicator of how our story is being built.
Of what they picked.
Of what
I think that might be fine, because really you're not generating until, because it's the chat is generating it. So you're just picking kind of generic, basic stuff. So you're right. I think that might be okay. So they can see where they are in that process, but they're not going to see the whole thing until you're all done anyway.
Right.
Do they have to pick them in a particular order, or could they choose like the what before the mood or anything like that?
I'm kind of thinking they could pick it in any particular order, and if they and if you didn't pick something, then the AI would just make it up. So if you're just like, I just want a love story, then it would just make up something, because that's the only input that you gave it, and it would just make up the who and the where and the what.
And then do you put anything in it to make sure whatever it comes out with is age appropriate?
For right, well, I guess I tried doing April Fool's pranks, and it told me that what was the prank? It wasn't even inappropriate, but it was like, I can't do anything that would be like that would be mean, like be hurtful to somebody or something like that. So I know that OpenAI has some stuff built into it. Has some filter things built into it already. But that is a good question of, maybe that's something we'd have to test out and put a prompt on. I need to be taking notes on this here, right? Like, we need to have, because we could probably put that into our prompt of ages. It's like, right, like, make a story that's age appropriate for children between, younger than 16.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Do the children know how to read the word mood?
I think that's where if it can, I mean, obviously some do, some don't, maybe, but if we have some pictures to help with a little bit of that, although pictures are a questionable thing in the world of literacy and stuff right now, but I think that just helps a little bit whenever you're creating something. And then if we can get it to have some kind of um, text to speech, where you can hear it, would be great.
And I went in, so in that shared document page under the design section, I went through and I was looking at I forget the site now. I put links to them within these, but I kind of went through and searched for different things. And so for mood, I was thinking it was open symbols, like this image for mood. And so I wanted to try and find things that were close. Some of them I think are gonna be a little bit off still. I want to kind of look through like the speech device, and some of the other ones are really tough. Like what? Like it's
Yeah.
like I don't know what a good icon would be for what.
Yeah, and there's not, and yeah. That's one of the reasons there's a lot of things in the literacy right now about using images is not always helpful.
Right, yeah. So like, well, I don't want to it fit for some stories, but then not other stories, and we want to keep it universal. And so I put down, so I found images that I think will work for all of them. Mystery, I want to kind of find something different so it fits the style of the other ones. But I tried to kind of find some different images that we could use, and I put them on here with the sources. But that idea of kind of building it out, so this is almost like a completely different approach here, right? Because then the idea is, well, I think the way that, so working through this one, the way it would work is, right, and let me know if I got this right, Nicole, what you're thinking. You would tap on adventure, and then it's going to take you to this page where then you select, it's like the mood, and then you tap on that one, it'll take you to this page where then you select what that would be. When you select it, it automatically brings you back to the adventure page, and then the who takes you to another one, and it would kind of automatically move you between the two.
Move you through the process of it, yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess we'd need a button. I didn't think about that yet, but we'd need like a button that'll be like generate, or like make story.
Yeah, when you're done, when you've put everything in it that you want.
And if that's the flow, then maybe you don't need back.
Yeah, or maybe like up here, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the only thing would be is if you go to that page and then you go, I don't like any of those options, so I'm not going to pick something. So if the only way to go back is to select something, you'd need a back then if you didn't want to pick something that was in your options.
Oh, right. I guess, yeah, we'd need to have that. We'll want to have that as another option too of none, so we can deselect.
Yeah, that might work.
Like remove add, or like none.
So once you come back, let's say you come back to the adventure page after you've clicked your mood, will you see like an icon of what mood you selected? And then will it be obvious that you still need to do who and what, that they're open, because the who will be your who logo? Or your
and that's, I think, what you were trying to figure out, if it would all go in there after kind of like the topic in an AC device, right? Or your chat line.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing now. Cool.
It's not like we start building the board, we start building our story with our pieces here. And then we can even use this as our navigation as well as our visual. Maybe we even have like another button here of like home or something. I don't know. I don't really know. No, I guess, yeah. So now we get rid of back. We don't need that. Now we just have home.
Oh, but you don't want to change the position of home. You want to keep it consistent, so you need to drop your pink bar down so that home can stay up above it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of like this would be like a different flow. But yeah, let's move home up here.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And then, all right, so then if we, okay, and then we've got, these are our moods. And then we just need to be like, yup, like this is like our active one is that one now.
Okay, I'm confused. I don't know why the 4 moods are sitting on the screen you have them on. Why are they not on the screen directly above it where it says mood?
Well, so we're kind of thinking like 2 different approaches to this. So this would be one possible view look of it, and then this is a different possible look.
Oh, okay. I was viewing all of these rolling together. Okay, no, okay, I'm fine. Yeah.
And then yeah, and so then the idea would be of like, you know, you select adventure story, and then you end up here, and now we can choose which type we're gonna do.
Right, and once you've chosen mood on this screen, shouldn't that auto-populate back on that one? So that once this particular screen that just has those items on it has pictures in all the boxes, the
yeah.
person knows my story's ready to hear and they can punch hearing it.
Oh, like on here?
Yeah, that this is the cumulative page. So I'm going to do an adventure. I need to do mood, and it takes you over to the right, and there are the funny, et cetera, icons, and they choose one, and it goes up and it makes the red box. And the point at which it makes the red box, this second box in the pink line populates with whatever they put in the red box. So this page that you're moving around things with right now never has anything more on it than the pink stripe with the 5 boxes in it. The name of the type of story, the mood for the story, the who for the story, the what for the story, the where for the story. And once through their picture selection, they've auto-populated something in each one of those because they've done the box just over to the right. That got mood done. And so then they go back. I'm not making sense because you're putting more lines on this page and all
You're making
sense.
sense. You're making sense. So are you picturing like then mood would change to whatever you're selected, and then you go to who, and then the who button on this page he's on will change to whatever he's selected, or would it all generate there? Or the other thing, would it generate in a different box? I don't know.
I guess what I'm thinking is let's go one box to the right, if we could, please.
Oh, this one over here.
That one, yeah. So I'm thinking that this should, because you're going to have a funny, a sad, a scary, and a romantic icon. I'm thinking this should say adventure / mood at the top, just like the box directly above it does. And so now the person knows that they're supposed to pick a mood. And when they get to this page the first time, that all the boxes at the top are gray, but there's funny and sad and scary and those things there. And they go, I want to do funny or whatever it is. And they click on funny, and that makes the box that's red up there look like a smiley face or whatever funny is supposed to look like. And simultaneously, as soon as that red box gets done, it fills in over here. And the machine knows to fill that in over there. And then they go, okay, I've got these other 3 things. And they can just skip this next box because they know I've already done that page. And so in essence, this page right here doesn't need to have a castle and 4 boxes on it. It just needs to have a castle and 1 box on it. And then it needs funny, sad, and scary, etc. to choose from. And so they make the choice, it fills up that one, and then they know that, okay, I don't have to do anything with this right-hand box here anymore. I need to find the next one that has a castle and my smiley face and one more gray box on it. And they get to one more gray box, and it's a who, and down below are different types of who's down there. And they fill it in, they choose their one, and it populates who, and it simultaneously goes back here and populates on the page that says generate story. And they know that once they've dealt with these four or 5 boxes down below, they don't have to deal with that square anymore. They can go to a different square. But maybe you don't want to end up with 5 pages worth of boxes.
So I want to see if I understand that right. Because
I'm assuming that we're not dealing with the top 2 boxes anymore, other than the
Right.
fact that I just read the way Adventure Arrow Mood is.
right,
Mhm.
right. Okay, and so you're saying that then up here, this pink box. So like, okay, walk me through this here. I want to make some changes to this.
Okay, so you've determined it's an adventure, and adventure icon is there, and there's 4 more questions to answer. And the
Mhm.
first one happens to be mood.
Yep.
So you go over to your right to the next white box, and in that white box, at the time that you get there, the second box doesn't have any, is a gray box too, but the funny face and the sad face and the scary face and the romantic face are all populated there. And the person chooses which one they want to, and as soon as they click on it, so if you click on sad,
Mhm.
sad goes up and populates that red square. And
Okay.
as soon as the red
Oh.
square is populated, it simultaneously populates over to the left.
Okay, so then it'll automatically then go to the who section.
Well, that's what I didn't know, is how you wanted to work with that. If it's automatically going to go to who, somehow who needs to get a blue box around it, or needs to start flashing, or it needs to something. And the who's to choose from have to change down below. And I was kind of thinking that if a person could change their mind, you want this mood page to be over and done with. And then just a moment ago, you were putting more white boxes down below. And so somehow,
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe all that it has is adventure and 1 gray box. And the top says adventure, pointer, mood. And underneath the 1 gray box are the 4 different faces. The person chooses a face, the box populates, it repopulates the home page. It also populates the home page.
Mhm.
And then they know they're all finished with that page that had faces on it, unless they wanted to change their mind. But the next page over also has just 1 gray box, only that happens to be the who box, and it has who things to choose from down below. So they make their who choice, and it populates the who box, and it simultaneously jumps over and populates the pink bar on the very first one. And then they go, okay, I have 2 more gray boxes to fill in. I have to go past 2 more pages to get to my what box or whatever it is. I don't know what the third gray box is. And there's options to choose from.
Right.
And so
I
I'm
like,
kind of thinking you don't ever have anything other than a castle and one gray box, because that way the person knows that's the box I have to fill. I fill that box by choosing. And if I ultimately get done and say, you know, I have a laughing face, I don't want a laughing face. I want, you know, a crabby face. So they know which one of these ones to go back to, because they find the one that has 4 faces on it and they fix that, and it automatically auto-populates back over to the home page.
I like that. No, yep. I get what you're talking about. And I like that you have it so that it automatically moves people to the next one. They don't have to pick something there, but instead of, right, like going back to the home or going back to the adventure page, it's just, you're just naturally moving on to the next one, and people could override that. They could be like, oh, like I want to do the where next, and they could just tap on
Right,
that.
right. And maybe it would just be 4 boxes over instead of you have 1 white box over, 2 white boxes over, 3 white boxes over, 4 white boxes over. And if
Right.
they want to skip and do the last one, they just go to the last box.
I like that. I was kind of thinking then of, for this, that it would go back to on the, like, either where it then generates the text, either it could go back to this screen. I was thinking where we'd maybe see the text would be here, like keeping it on this like
Yes, yep,
story
yep.
theme page, and that's where it generates the text. Because then, right, if we wanted to change it, we'd probably want to just, right, like we want to be right there. We just tap on which variable we wanted to change and make that change, and then you could, or you just keep telling it to like redo the story, or like, generate a new one, make a new one, and then it would just kind of keep making, then redoing the story there.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't have to do what I suggested. It was just what kind of made sense to me.
No, I like that because it makes it a lot less clicking and tapping on things that really are, it's like, right, like it is like, that's how we're expecting people to go through it. It's like one after the other, and we're not taking it, your idea doesn't take away any abilities for people. It just makes the whole process faster and easier.
A little more simplified for moving them through it. And I do like the idea of being able to go back once you have those, that if you wanted to only change one variable, that if you can go back up, and if you just wanted to change the mood only, or if you wanted it, and that you could continue to have those without having to go back and do the whole thing, but just change one variable and do a different story, or change a different variable and do a different story, would be really nice, rather than having to redo everything every time.
Yeah.
Do you think it's confusing? Like, can you see the box that you have that has 2 red squares in it? Do you think it makes sense to ever have something that looks like this, or should the first box not be there at all, because that one's been done and that belongs to the square that's right to the left, and all that's on this one is the second box that's red, and your choices for the second box that's red. So they know that if they want to change the mood, they know which one of these screens they have to go to, because mood is the first box on the home generate the story page. So they have to find the white square that has the first box red, and the white square that has the second box red is going to be this one we're looking at right now. And if they want to change the what, they have to find the white box that has the what box red. Or do they always make the changes by punching the box on the home generate the story page, and it automatically blips them over to the appropriate white box that has the choices in it? Like if they get all of these populated right here where you are, and they go, I don't want it to be funny. I want it to be sad. If they click funny right there, will it automatically take you to this mood box? And if they clicked where on that, would it jump you over to the where choice box?
Well, I'm kind of thinking, because wait, hold on one second here. I'm gonna do this. One of the things I love about Figma is that you can do prototypes super easy. So, because I think this is, and I'll share this with everybody too. Oh nope. I want to go to. Okay. Right. So then the way that I think this works is, well, Lois, I think we're thinking the same thing, but I'm not positive. But right, it's like, so we've got our different stories here, different themes. We select adventure. Now we're on the adventure page.
Yep.
Nothing would maybe show up here yet.
Right.
And then we would select mood.
Yep.
And then if we select funny, it automatically takes us to the who page, and then we select something there, and then it takes us to the what, and then to the where, and then these are populating with whatever we selected. So the mood would change to funny, and then the who's going to have the picture of the character and all of that as we're going along. We keep the text there. Nicole, one thing that I was thinking of as we're talking about is I was kind of wondering, I was like, oh, okay, is this bad though? Like if we're changing the icon of the mood button,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know
we're
what you're saying.
we then the user has to remember that either they have to identify it because they remember what that is and remember the icon, be like, oh, okay, like the mood, like I picked funny and I see the funny icon, so that's where I'm going to go and change the mood, or they'd have to read the text. Like, is that too much that we're expecting them to know that, or especially if you're like we keep the same pattern, or is that going to be, I don't know, I like this.
I'd almost wonder if you just had another, I know you don't want to have another box, but I almost wonder if there would be another like completion box down at the bottom. So when you selected, instead of changing that one, you see it down below. So mood, and you pick, and you see what you picked, and then person, you select and you see what you picked, and
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm going to mock this up here, and then I think we'll end tonight's call because this has been amazing. And man, we already went for an hour here. Okay. Okay, because I want to make sure that we get that idea, because that I think this will be some things we'll like, right, we'll have to do some testing to really see if we can figure that out. Right. So then if we had this board, then it's sort of like we've got a board down here. And then so this would be of like the icons stay the same up here always. And this is our navigation. So really this is our navigation bar. Okay, I'm gonna add that note here, right? This is, ooh, how much just that? No, I can't. All right. So this is, yeah, so this is the navigation bar, and this is our story bar, I guess.
yeah.
And in between are our variables, and then home would have to go someplace in there. Home would go in here, and so we just have this up here farther, and then there's this, and then there's this. Okay, so I'm gonna, as just like another idea here of, I'm gonna draw these out like, and then this is like our options, page, selection, options. And then we've got down on the bottom is our actual story. Like current story line. Something like that. And so really it's kind of like our three main sections and where they would kind of move around.
The only thing that I'm not tracking with is take your pink bars. Are you going to have, we have four faces that will answer the mood choice. Where does the person find the four people that can answer the who choice?
They would, so it's kind of like up here, they would then tap on this button and then just the stuff in the middle would change. And then they would have the different people to select.
Okay, that I understand what you just said. And I like the fact that in essence keeps the person only having to deal with one physical screen page, so to speak. Yeah, and they don't have to bounce back and forth. And once they tap and choose, once they answer mood and they choose the funny face, does the funny face go up into the mood icon at the top, or does that stay as whatever the generic mood icon is, and the funny face goes down into a box in the lower pink rectangle?
Yep. Yeah, that's like that last one there. Yeah. So the mood icon would stay the same. But then the funny icon would move down here in our storyline.
Okay, and so they will end up with four storyline pictures answering the four questions up above in the pink box going across the bottom. Do they have any need? They won't at that given point in time be able to see any four pictures across the middle other than whichever one of these these boxes across the top they chose to do. And so let's say they did where the last time. So at that point, they'll have a forest picture and they'll have a boat and they'll have a schoolhouse and they'll have a church in these four pictures. And they choose one of those and they put that down in the pink bar. And then they're looking at it and they're going, no, I don't want grandma to be my who anymore. But all they can see at that point in the pink bar is grandma. Will they have difficulty understanding that if they click on grandma in that bottom bar, the four boxes up above will change to be able to show their other three choices for people? Do you understand what I'm trying? I'm trying to ask whether I don't need that, but do they need it?
Yeah.
To be able to go back and like pick a different one, or to keep moving through?
I'm kind of thinking, would it be if like, so yeah, like if they tapped on the who, like, so down here, if they selected grandma, or grandma was down here, if they tapped on grandma, it would take them back to the who page, just the same as if they tapped on who, right?
Right, but are they going to understand that it will do that? Because all they will visually be able to see at that point are the four choices for whichever box they last did, which I was supposing was where.
Right.
Do you think maybe is why those four choices don't ever change? Because that way, if those all that stay the same and have the same icon, then, and if we allow, I guess it depends on if you want to force them to go through, but if you want them to be able to go back and they picked grandma and they didn't want grandma, then they can go back and tap who again, knowing what it's going to bring up as options, and then you could change it that way.
So correct. They have to understand that they don't tap on grandma in the bottom line. They go up and tap on the who icon, and that will make the 4 pictures change, so they can choose somebody other than grandma, because they're
Yeah.
looking at their whole story, and they just need to know which square, which pink bar square they need to tap on to change. They can't tap on their final choice. They have to tap on the field.
And I think maybe that's just a process that would have to be taught. Like if we make it so the bottom one you can't do anything with, like it doesn't do anything, then they will automatically have to, they'll learn that you go to that top navigation bar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Good.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess that would be easier too. I was thinking in my head of like more flexibility, like you could tap on whatever, but then we're doing multiple things. We're doing 2 different things to accomplish the same thing. We should have one. And
Right.
somebody was using other ways, or like they're tabbing through the interface, like we've just doubled the buttons basically for no reason.
Yeah.
As we're kind of going through, we can just keep it simpler. I like that idea. And I'm kind of wanting to, I'm just like, maybe this should be right below that. And so then we see like mood, who it is, what, and then what it's going to be and where, like instead of like we switch these around instead or something like that. I don't know. I gotta think about this.
I think those are fun because I think, you kind of see, oh, I picked, here are my choices. This is
Yeah,
what
yeah,
is where I'm at. So it's kind of I think that makes
Yeah.
a good navigational, like as you go down, these were my options.
Kind of
Okay.
reminds me of shopping or, ordering a Happy Meal, right? The French fries, the hamburger, and selecting what goes in and then changing your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right. We did some awesome work on the interface here. I'm loving this. I'm gonna share out a link to the Figma file. And I'm gonna make some edits to the video, and then I'm gonna send out this video too. And I don't know.